Mrs. Green Apple, and this song is called Aufheben. I had to do a bit of research to find that out, as you might know if you watched my last reaction, and at the end you saw me trying to work out how to pronounce the name of the next song. So anyway, this is track number 4 in our track by track listen through to Ensemble. I'm really excited about this one, as I have been for all of them, because of the fact that this album seems to be starting off in a very different direction from many other Mrs. Green Apple albums. I mean, we're getting a lot of familiar songwriting styles, and yet we're also getting some really curious, interesting uses of sound. Now, just so you know, I, as mentioned, did look up the song name and therefore got myself a little bit of information about this song already, because if you type the katakana Aufheben into Google, it starts telling you first and foremost about the Mrs. Green Apple song, because of course writing this word in Japanese, you know, the first thing it's going to come to is Mrs. Green Apple. Yeah, I think that probably makes sense. But I did do a little search onto Wikipedia and I saw that the word, which is pronounced
Aufhebung.
Wow, that was really loud, I apologise. But the word that is pronounced
Aufheben.
Actually, why has it got two different pronunciations, two different voices? Anyway, this word actually is one that has several meanings, but was made apparently famous by Hegel, who is a philosopher, who basically talked about the idea being that it's to analyze conflicts by rising them up above the noise into a separate, basically kind of isolating conflicts and looking at them outside of the context of noise and other things happening. So basically the vibe I'm getting from this song is it's about finding logical ways to overcome conflicts and struggles and difficulties and such things in life. That's where I'm guessing we're going with this. So that is the approach I'm going to take into it. As usual, I'll probably get most of the lyrics, but not all of them. And anyway, let's jump into this. It seems to have a lyric video actually rather than a normal music video. Let's enjoy it anyway. I'm looking forward to seeing what we get. Straight in. Oh, okay, now we got a little bit of live action video. Loving that piano sound. Loving how the left hand and piano and the bass are working together. Yeah, man, this is a piano song. Feeling it. Yeah, that came out of nowhere. This is Green Apple's like, you can barely speak because something will always happen. This song has just got this relentless pace. Charge along. Yeah, we're burning through 2 minutes. There's definitely a rawness to the song that is really compelling. I'm looking forward to seeing what we get in the bridge of this one. We're just going to make or break a song. Okay, melodic bridge. That really quick 8-chord pattern except the chorus. 8 chords and then relentlessly repeats. Very, very. I mean, the word I'd go for this: more relentless. And it just blasts through that 4 minutes. As ever, we've got to stop it before the next song plays, but wow. There is a lot more going on here than I expected, because the funny thing is this song both stands out as being very different from everything we've heard before, and yet it also informs a lot of what I want to say about the album, because I'm really noticing certain trends now. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is just that relentless sound that I was mentioning earlier on, in that this is definitely an example of a piece of music that wants you to feel like it's not restful, like it's really charging along, which I got to be honest was not the expectation I had from the somewhat analytical name that it had and the description we had of that name. But what's really intriguing is how it delivers that. First of all, we have this chord pattern in the chorus that, as I mentioned, it's an 8-chord pattern. It's not like the sort of 3 or 4 chord patterns that make up the laziest choruses. It's an 8-chord pattern, but it repeats very quickly. Those chord changes happen very quickly. It goes through all the 8 and then it comes back around and does that. And, it's really sort of pushing ahead. So it's not like you're getting a repetitive chorus in a bad, there's just not that much chorus, so it's repeating kind of way. You're getting a repetitive chorus in a kind of, there's a lot happening, but it's happening quickly and it's going to happen again. And that energy is further conveyed just by the way that the piano, which is the core of this song, the piano is the MVP of this song, is just hammering along. I mean, one of the great things about piano as a sound, or as an instrument, any keyboard really, is that obviously you are the only instrument in a band who really, you are actually multiple instruments. And I don't just mean that as in keyboards being able to change sounds, but I mean, even with a single layer piano, not a double layer keyboard, a single layer piano, you have got bass, you've got like mid instrument status as well, and you can move around. You can be in the high ranges, you can be the mid-low, you can be anywhere in the frequency, you can make up any part of the sound, and of course by default piano usually is in 2 places in the sound. So here you've got the low end, the left hand is like really da-da-dum, 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 moving up alongside the bass, and it's kind of adding extra thickness, extra depth to the bass, while at the same time all of this really lovely kind of freeform sounding piano happening around the mid-range, just giving so much colour, so much activity to the rest of the song. And in supporting the charging kind of like stepping up of the bass, it makes the bass more intense. It makes that feel more urgent. And with all of the activity happening around the mid-range of the piano on the right hand as well, you're giving much more activity to that part of the song. So like I say, you're thickening up the bass, you're making more layers and more liveliness to the mid-range of the song. So yeah, the piano is just adding so much more urgency in a structured way, and also more activity in the mid-range, just creating this feeling that the song has got this relentless feeling to it. I really like that, along with a good fast tempo, really worked. It's got a good chorus. I would definitely say though, for me, look, the vocals were great as always. Good chorus, not their most exciting or interesting chorus, but definitely a good one. The drum line was great. There was some cool fills in there, but as a general, it was rocking along. Bass, guitar, all of these instruments, kind of, it's the standard sort of stuff. Nothing wrong with it, but for me, the piano just made this song jump out of the headphones, jump out your speakers. I love that aspect. Video's cool. Video's got a little bit of, they did another video like this before, and I can't remember which one it was. One where it's just kind of got a little, like, a setting and then little frames of them appear. I cannot remember which music video that was, but they have got another music video like this that we did. But yeah, anyway, look. I thought the video still really cool style, really liked it. Somewhere between a lyric video and a music video. Nice how they managed to balance that out. One thing I will say though, and I did mention at the beginning of the review segment, that this has kind of informed me about a couple of things about the album. So the one thing I noticed during the reaction, and I'd felt this a little bit with the first two tracks on the album. Wanted to a certain degree, not as much, but certainly with the first two songs on the album, I noticed a particular trait that now I've heard it for the third time, I gotta call it out. I don't think this album's very well mixed. It might be the mix or it might be the mastering, but whereas Mrs. Green Apple albums tend to have this sound where everything's got this beautiful, broad stereo feeling, and the frequencies tend to be very lively, this album feels quite squashed. Like it's kind of, it hasn't got that much stereo presence. The frequencies tend to be very cluttered in the mid-range. I apologize if you're someone who sort of casually looks at these things. It might be a very hard thing to know because a lot of the time these mixing things, if you've worked with a studio, you can kind of say, oh, I can hear this is happening, that's happening. Whereas to a normal listener, it just kind of sounds like, it just doesn't sound as good, and it's kind of hard to define why. I mean, I will actually say I've noticed quite recently when bands upload videos in mono, a lot of the time no one notices till I say, has no one noticed that this is in mono? And then people go, oh yeah, I didn't notice that. So I do think it's fair to say that the average casual listener doesn't really pick up on these kind of mixing things until told. And that's honestly, that's no detriment to anyone. It doesn't mean that if you recognize it, you're suddenly an expert. It's just one of those things that you work with it, you look for it, I think, and you're aware when it's missing. This particular album so far, I've got to be honest, the songs I've heard, there does just feel like there's not quite that same sense of dynamic energy to it. It's clearly a stylistic choice. There might be a certain aspect of compression. Maybe if things are mixed when things are mixed too much into the mid-range, they haven't got enough stereo pan and then compression's added. Even a light bit of compression can suddenly sound worse just because it has, everything's already gathered in one spot and then being squashed together. So again, sorry, I'm using terminology that isn't going to make a huge amount of sense if this isn't something you're super familiar with. But I do feel like it's worth mentioning that I don't feel, compared to the newer albums that obviously we've listened to and the older albums that we've also listened to, so far this definitely sounds like the worst mixed of any of their albums. So I'm interested to see how that goes as we continue. But there you go. I had to bring that up as a little observation because I've noticed it now on 3 of the tracks at least. Maybe Wanted as benefits from being a little bit more EDM based. Well, it has a bit more of an EDM vibe. But I thought I'd throw that one out there and see what you guys think. But anyway, look, as a song, I really enjoyed this. I loved the piano aspect. For a band who has keyboards in, they always make really good use of the keyboard, but there's something just about a raw piano. It's like you can be really into rock music, but then someone will just pick up like a steel strung guitar and just play like just raw acoustic, and you just it's nice. Sometimes you get that rawness. Same thing here, like I love keyboards, I love all the playful things, but sometimes you just hear someone playing like a raw acoustic piano and you think, oh, that sounds good. Anyway, there you go. As always, get in the comments. Let me know what you think. And until I hopefully see you very soon in the next one of these, which is going to be Hajimari featuring Kyosaku from Mongol 800. Might have to do some research, it seems. Till then, or maybe I'll see you in one of the other reactions as well, because we've got other reactions on this channel too, or in the Discord, or wherever you may be. Until then, for now, ciao, ciao.